Hi, good evening, and welcome to our budgeting webinar. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Carla Rodriguez, and I'm a business development officer here at Los Angeles Police Federal Credit Union. Tonight, we'll show you how building a better budget can help you create healthy saving and spending habits. Before we get started, I'd like to mention that this is a live webinar and a recording of it will be shortly sent after. You will be in listen-only mode, but our presenter will have dedicated time to answer your questions towards the end of the presentation. Please type your questions along the way in the Q&A box located at the bottom of the screen. Now I will hand it over to our presenter, Colleen Garrity from Balance, our educational partner.
Well, thank you very much, Carla, and welcome everybody. I'm so happy that you guys are here and learning about building a budget, okay? And it's just so much fun to have you guys all here. Let me welcome you again. So yes, my name is Colleen Garrity, and I am your presenter. I work for Balance. Balance is a nonprofit, and we partner with LAPFCU in order to bring you financial education, to help you to get stronger with your financial education to reach your goals and your dreams. So I do have just a few questions that I want to kind of ask you in 1 second here. Bear with me. First of all, if you guys could raise your hand, and just raise your hand if you feel that budgeting is something that is, a fun thing to do, that you guys actually budget. Raise your hand if you actually budget. There's a little hand icon. Okay, thank you very much. All right, wonderful. Glad to see that. Thank you, Brett. Wonderful. Love seeing those hands go up. All right, I'm going to lower the hands now. And I do thank you guys very, very much for doing that. Next thing I'd like to do is go ahead and get started to teach you about building a better budget. Okay, so we all sometimes talk about the fact that when we're going on vacation, right? When you go on vacation, do you decide where you want to go and plan for what hotel you're going to stay in, or if it's a campground or whatever you're going to do, who's going with you, what you're going to do while you're there? How many of you, when you make a plan to go on vacation, do you do all those things, or just whimsically go out? So if you make a plan, raise your hand. If you make a plan to go on vacation and you actually know where you're going and what you're going to be doing and all of that, yeah, wonderful. Thank you so much for raising those hands. Lots of hands going up. Look at all those hands. Wonderful. Thank you so much for those hands. I appreciate those hands. Okay. Well, doing a budget is the same thing. Okay. It's a plan, but it's a plan for your future and for your present. Okay. It's a plan to really get you in control of your money. Okay. A good budget will help you use your money effectively. It's going to help you reach those financial goals that you want, right? Achieve a financial independence. I always love to say those words, financial independence, right? And it's going to be without sacrificing life's pleasures. You are basically being in control of your money versus your money being in control of you. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to turn off my camera so you can see the nice big screen, and we can learn all about balancing a budget. So, how many of you like to procrastinate? I know I do. I'm a procrastinator, right? Yeah, we're all procrastinators, right? Yeah, I like to procrastinate too. Yeah, few of you. Some of you are in my boat with me. Thank you very much for being procrastinators with me. Okay. There's many obstacles that get in our way when we're starting a budget, but one of the main things is procrastination, right? That is what people are thinking about, right? It's easy to get into this procrastination bit, right? By saying, I don't have enough time to do a budget. I have too many bills, right? I don't have enough money. I feel overwhelmed, right? Or I'm so afraid I'm going to have to give up on all the fun stuff, right? I don't want to give up on the fun stuff, right? I'm not going to lie to you. It does take time to build a budget, okay? It takes about It takes a long time, actually. It takes time to actually get yourself into it. Then it's a habit. You have to get yourself into that habit of looking at your budget, right? But once you have it really set up, it only is about 30 minutes to an hour once a month. And then you're following it. Okay. And that's the only part you have to remember to do is to follow it once you build it. Okay. You don't want to say, I should have, I could have, I would have. Okay. When you procrastinate, a lot of people procrastinate because, that big bad word budget, the B word, right? A budget. Oh my gosh, it's a horrible word, right? So I always like to say savings and spending plan. That sounds more relaxing to me, right? I can grab onto that. My mom told me that once. Okay, she told me it was a spending and savings plan. And I'm like, saving money and spending money, right? I like that. So by a raise of hands, who enjoys spending money? Who likes spending their money? Okay, yeah, I like spending money. Okay, good. And also by a raise of hands, who likes saving money? Who likes to save money? Ah, I love that even more hands are going up. That's wonderful. Thank you. Thank you so much for that. Appreciate it. Okay. So always think of it as a spending and savings plan. Okay. That's what you're building. Okay. Um, when you're doing that, I always tell people, well, everybody says, oh, I'm going to give up on the fun stuff, right? I'm giving up on them, right? It's not true. The fun thing about it is when you say you don't have enough money and you have to give up on the fun stuff, once you have a budget in place, and I did this years ago, and believe me, it works. And all the people that I've helped say, wow, I can't believe this, right? Once you build a good, sound spending and saving plan or budget, you find you have more money than you thought you had. And the only things that you're giving up, you're going to find you're not going to miss them as much as you thought you would. Okay. And you're going to find little fine tuning is going to make it a lot easier for you. And the best part about it is you're going to be able to reach those goals that you want to reach, whether it be going to Europe or your retirement or getting out of debt, whatever it may be, you can do it. The main thing is that you have to see it, believe it, and you can achieve it. So, can you raise your hand again? I love raising your hand, okay? Do you have a financial goal? Raise your hand if you have financial goals. Okay, great. Wonderful. If you guys could do me a favor, and just a few of you, all of you, you can all do it if you want to. In the little question box or the chat box, or the question box, can you go ahead and just write maybe one of your financial goals in there? Paying off your student loans, right? Yep. Buying a house, that's a good one. Starting a 529 plan. That's good. Yeah. More another house. Okay, good. Oh, wow. You guys got a lot of them. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Paying your parents back. Okay. Yeah, that's always fun to pay your parents back, right? I love that you want to do that. Travel. You guys have so many wonderful financial goals here. I love it. Building that emergency savings account. Thank you very much. That is great. Good job, guys. I love those goals. Those are really good goals, and I'm really proud of you to having those goals. So let's talk a little bit about goal setting, okay? Any good budget has goals in it, okay? Any good budget has a goal, okay? But goals, they need to be smart. Okay. Us in the financial industry, we like our acronyms. And SMART stands for, as you can see, specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time bound. Okay. SMART. If I say to you, I want to go to Europe, that's nice. It's a wish. I'd like to go to Europe. But it's not really something that I can really see in my mind and actually believe because I have no plan put in place, right? There's no plan. Like when you go on vacation, I don't really have a plan in place, right? I want to make it smart. So I want to make it specific. And if I had said instead, I want to go to Europe next August and I'm going to put $300 in a savings account so I can achieve that. Now it becomes a SMART goal. I made a plan. I know when I'm going to go. I know what I'm going to do to get there, right? So that becomes a SMART goal. So what do they all mean, right? Well, specific means, does the goal state exactly what will be achieved? Is it measurable? Does the goal have a benchmark that can be achieved, right? So basically, like when my daughter was really young, a long time ago, I wanted to buy a used car, another car. And so I did one of those temperature gauge things like you see in front of schools once in a while. And her and I were coloring in until it got to the top. And then I had saved enough money. So I kind of watched it. I had my benchmarks that way. And I was able to go buy my car. Of course, I was putting the money in a savings account, but I was able to save up the money so I could go buy my new car. It was used, but it was still new to me. And it was the first real nice car that I got when my daughter was little. And I was really proud of that. So it was measurable. Is it achievable? Is the goal possible to accomplish? So, for instance, if you said, I want $1 million by the time I'm 55 years old, believe me, it is attainable. Okay. It is achievable. But if I was 54 and I hadn't started saving yet, that's not achievable. Okay. Unless, of course, I win the lottery, right? Is it realistic? Can the goal be achieved within the time and resources that you have? So again, are you able, is it a realistic goal, right? Is it something that can be actually done, right? Like for instance, if I say I want to go to the moon, I guess we can all go to the moon now, but that's something that's not really realistic to most of us, okay? And is it time bound? When are you going to do it? And if you have a knowing when you're going to do it, then you're going to do it. And I always say, make a calendar, okay? And mark on the calendar when you're going to be doing this and put a big circle around it, right? Put things up for yourself so you know, hey, this is when I'm going to do it. And make sure you make it measurable because it's something you want to attain, okay? So for instance, if I say, and I'm going to give you one more example here real quick. If I say, I want a new computer, okay? So I want a new computer. So I will be purchasing a new computer in 9 months, and I'm going to save $1,200. That is a smart goal. I can track it every 2 and 3 months. I can make sure I'm on track of saving that $1,200. When I do the calculations, it's attainable. It's only $134 a month, and I can definitely afford that. And it is something I need, and I do have the means to save for the computer. I have my employment, and I have 9 months to achieve my goal, so it's time. So I have all of it covered. Okay. So on page number 7 of your workbook, so there is a handout, by the way. I forgot to tell you about this. There's a little thing that looks like a little piece of paper, so you can download a handout. And on page 7 of that, you will find a chart that looks like this. It's on page 7. So on there, you're going to see your short-term, mid-term, and long-term goals. And you can write as many as you want down. But I always say when you make your goals, give them numbers. What's most important? Like number 1, this is the most important goal. Just in case, you're not able to get all your goals at one time, you might have to make them longer or stretch them out a little bit in order to achieve them. Okay. But a short-term goal is something under 1 year. So 1 year or less, something, similar to maybe a new smartphone or buying that computer, maybe creating a savings account. Okay. A midterm goal is something you can achieve within 1 to 5 years. Okay. It could be taking that trip to Europe, right? Maybe buying a house. Okay. Maybe eliminating your debt. So that would be a goal from 1 to 5 years. And a long-term goal is something that is more than 5 years. Something like retirement, which a lot of people don't think about. Please think about that if you're not. Retirement. Saving for your child's education is another possible long-term goal. If your child is young, saving for their education now is a good thing, right? So that would be a long-term goal. And it could also be buying a house, right? You may not plan to buy a house for another 5 years, but you can achieve those goals, write them down and see them. Now you got to figure out what's it going to cost me, right? I always got to know the cost. Let's look at that computer again. So when you're doing your goals, you would put what the goal is, and then your target date. When do you want to achieve it? And then how much you're going to need in order to achieve the goal. You want to also indicate how much savings you have in there. If you have savings, you would subtract that $1,200 in this case from that current savings to get your additional savings needed. Okay. And then you would divide it by how many paychecks you're going to be receiving. So how many paychecks between now and then are you going to be receiving? In this case, it's 18. So it's only $67 a pay period, or $134 per month. So that's how I kind of calculated it, and that's how you're going to calculate it. Here's some other sample goals. Short-term goal, emergency savings. One of you mentioned the emergency savings account, right? So what is an emergency savings account, right? We're going to talk more about that in a little bit. But an emergency savings account, I want to do it in the next year, okay? I'm going to need $1,800 to have my emergency savings. Divide that by my year, $150 a month, easy peasy lemon squeezy, as I always like to say, okay? Next one, midterm. Repaying your debt. Now, if we take the $200 and divide that by 3 years, it's definitely going to be more than $5,000. So when you're paying debt, you have interest, right? So you want to also calculate. There's a great calculator that Los Angeles Police Federal Credit Union, LAPFCU, has that you can utilize for calculating your debt, or you can go to your balance site that we have available for you. Okay, and then you can calculate by putting in the interest amount in order to calculate how to pay off that debt quicker. Okay, and so in this case, I'm going to put $200 towards my debt every single month, and in 3 years it'll be gone. And of course, funding your retirement, right? That is such an important thing to do. So if I have 30 years, I want that $1 million, right? That's only $350 a month. Again, when it comes to retirement and investments, there's no guarantee. Okay, you should speak to an investment advisor, and LAPFCU has a great one on staff that you can go speak to about it in order to figure out how much each month you need to save to get to $1 million. Okay, and we're going to talk more about that later as well. But definitely go and speak to a investment advisor in order to reach the goals if it's funding your retirement. You want to get yourself on track for that. So I did talk to you about that emergency savings account, right? And this is a really good goal, and I'm really glad somebody put that down because that is like the best goal in the world to me. Okay, why? Because it's going to help you to not have those hiccups and basically destroy your budget when something unexpected happens. Okay, you want to have that money available for you to utilize if something happens. Like if your water heater goes out, like mine did. I had a water heater go out and a lot of things happen at one same time, right? So you want to have that money available. You need to have 3 to 6 months worth of essential living expenses. Okay, essential living expenses are things you need to live on. Okay, the roof over your head, your electricity, food on the table, right? Not fast food though. Okay, things that you need in order to live. Okay, not the fun stuff. Unfortunately, you don't want to count that, but you want those essential living expenses. Okay, and you need to have it in an account you can get to. I always say, emergency savings account you should really put into a money market. So talk to LAPFCU about that. They've got a good one, and you get a lot better interest rate of return on it. So than a basic savings account. So put it into a money market account because it's something you can get easy access to if something does unexpectedly happen. Okay, so it's very liquid. Now, we all know that emergencies do happen, right? But what about your debt, right? Raise your hand if you think you should pay your debt off before you save money. I'm glad to see just a couple hands. Okay, a couple hands went up. Yeah, a lot of people think that, right? They think, you know what? I got to pay that debt off. I don't have money to save. I don't care if you're putting $5 a month into a savings account. You want to make it a habit for yourself, okay? Emergencies do happen, right? You don't want to live off your credit the rest of your life. When you're paying off your debt and not saving anything, then something happens, now you got more debt, right? So it's always a good idea to make it become a habit to save money. Like I said, I don't care if it's just $5. My mom, to this day, has $25 automatically transferred into her savings account every single month, okay? To this day. And she's older, okay? I'm old and she's older, okay? And so it's really a good idea. And she did this a long time ago. She could put more in, and she does put more in, but make it a habit. Okay. You really want to promote that to where you're putting money away for yourself. Retirement, definitely through your employer, especially, right? Because once your savings starts growing, you do gain this confidence that you can do it. Okay. And then also work on your debt as well. You can do them both. Okay. And speaking of retirement, there's a lot of retirement accounts out there, right? And I really want you to start thinking about saving for retirement. Number one place, once again, is your employer. How many of you, by a raise of hands, put money into your employee-sponsored retirement plan? I want to see every hand go up. Okay. I'm seeing so many hands go up. I'm loving it. Thank you. Okay. Very, very good. Right. So you have your 401k and your 403b are the most common. 403b is for those with nonprofit, and 401k is for everyone else. Okay. The one thing is that you want to talk to your employer, your HR department, and just basically make sure, what are they matching? Okay. A lot of employers will match what you put in. If you put in 2% of your pay, they'll put in 2% of your pay. If you're not putting that 4% of your pay and they're putting 4%, if you're not doing that, if you're not putting at least what they're putting in, you're throwing money away. Okay. If you want to throw money away, I'm gladly take it. Okay. But what you want to do is you want to take those baby steps. If you're only putting 1% in, move it up to 2%, then 3%, and then 4%. You want to kind of take those baby steps up, because then you're not going to miss the money so much. Okay. Next, there, of course, there's self-employed retirement accounts that are out there if you are self-employed. And then there's also the IRAs, or the IRAs. Okay. There's traditional, which is, of course, before taxes. So basically, when you pull the money out, that's when you pay the taxes. And then there's a Roth IRA, which is after taxes. So when you pull the money out, you don't have to pay taxes. Okay. So those are the kind. But LAPFCU has a really great plan for you for retirement as well. So at the end of this presentation, you'll hear a little bit more about that. And I really think you need to talk to the financial advisor over there. Okay. So as I said, these are the steps you're going to take. We spend what we make. Automate it, because you are essential expense. Save while repaying debt. These are the main steps that you want to remember. You want to make sure that, yeah, you're spending money, but you want to put money away because you are an essential person. So that goes on your budget. And this is why I'm going to show you about the debt. Okay. If you have $2,000 in debt and you have a 19.8% APR, it's going to take you 14.5 years to pay that off. Okay. That's more than what you, in interest, than what you have borrowed. Okay. More. So by having that emergency savings account set up and using your savings account versus your debt, your credit cards, you're going to save yourself a lot more money. Okay. A lot more money. So let's get to the nuts and bolts of it. Let's talk about the budget. Okay. The first thing you need to do is you need to track it. Okay. So you want to track where you're spending your money. And a lot of people forget this step. Okay. So a lot of people will forget the step of starting from the beginning, right? That's where we want to start, the beginning. So let me share with you. This is in your handout. And this is a tracking sheet. So what I want you to do is I want you to track everything you spend. Everything. Buy a pack of gum, goes on here, right? If you put money in a vending machine, if you pay a toll, if you buy yourself a bar of soap, whatever it happens to be, everything goes on this sheet. That way you can track where your money's going. And you really should track it for about a month, okay? Track absolutely everything that you're spending for a month, every day. Get your total expenses, then your weekly, right? What your weekly spending on it. And then if you're over and under, what you want to do. But track it all. Track everything that you are spending. because by tracking what you're spending and really knowing where you're at with it, it's going to help you to really know exactly where your money's going. You can look at receipts, right? Use your debit or credit cards when you're spending money. Of course, pay those credit cards off. Use and pay. I always tell people that, right? Use and pay. Keep that in your mind, okay? And definitely want to utilize everything you can to see exactly where your money is going, every last dime of it, okay? Once you know where your money's going, and now you're more in control of your money than your money in control of you, it's time to actually build that budget. Now you can use a paper budget, right? Which is one like the one that's in your handout. You can use an app for that, an online budget, right? Now, if you do go online, make sure it's a secure site. You don't want to put any of your information in a non-secure site. If you are on the internet, you want to look for HTTPS in the URL. The S stands for secure. Never put any of your personal information in anything that does not have those call letters at the top in the URL of HTTPS. The S means secure, okay? I always love to stress that to people. But you can use it online. Or you can use a spreadsheet. That's what I use. I use a spreadsheet. I love my spreadsheets, okay? Now, once you do that, you want to, first of all, know what your income is. What's my income, right? How much am I making? It's very easy if you get a salary or a set amount each and every pay period, then you can easily put it into place. But a lot of people, they don't get a set amount each and every pay period. Some of them fluctuate. Some of them just make commission only, right? Some of you may only work part-time and then maybe a few days off here and there. And maybe you get your new schedule every single month or every single week. They say, okay, you can work Monday, Wednesday, and Friday this week and Tuesday and Thursday next or what have you, right? So you want to be conservative. Kind of figure out what I'm making on an average, okay? So look over the last 3 months and average it out. And then whatever that average is, that's what you want to kind of base it on. Because sometimes you'll make less, but if you're using the average, right, that's good. It's okay because sometimes you make more. And when you make more, put that in savings for the times that you make less. And that way you kind of average it out. Okay, so average it out. If you make more than that average, that goes to savings for when you're making less than that average. Okay, some of us may work overtime and bonuses, right? Maybe every quarter you get a bonus. It could fluctuate. You can put it into your budget if you wanted to and have that little bit of an extra cushion. Or you can just throw your overtime and bonuses into savings towards your goals, right? And that way you're saving more, or even towards your debt. If you get an overtime or bonus, that all directly goes to debt or savings, or debt and savings, okay? Now I got a question for you. How many of you get really excited if you happen to make a large paycheck? I mean, not paycheck, excuse me, a large tax refund. Let me lower your hands again. You get a tax refund and you're getting $1,000 tax refund. How many of you get really excited when you get $1,000 tax refund? Okay, hands are going up. Yeah, that's so much great to get those tax refunds, right? I love tax refunds, right? They're fun, right? Okay, lowering your hands. How many of you get excited if you pay $50 on your taxes? You have to pay $50 to the IRS. How many of you say, yay, me, I got to pay $50? Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Going to lower your hands. A lot of you can raise your hands. Appreciate it. Okay. All right. I'm going to tell you, it's much better to pay $50 than get $1,000 back because you don't have things set right for yourself because the government is using your $1,000, your $1,500, or your $3,000 as my nephew got back. And I talked to him about this. Okay. The government's using that money. It would be much better if it was in your budget. Okay. So you want to adjust your exceptions. Okay. Exceptions. I can't get the word out. Sorry about that. But you want to adjust. You want to try to get it to where it's as close to zero as possible. Getting $50 back, $50 pay, or $100. $100 either way means you're on track. Okay. So try to adjust your tax withholdings. Okay, now we're going to look at your actual budget, okay? You want to have two columns, okay? So let me get back over here to this again. So you're going to see your two columns, okay? And on ours, you got the essential living, okay? And then below that is going to be the discretionary one, okay? So above is that one and then the discretionary, okay? So you want to put what you want to pay each month and then what you'd like to pay. So this is what I'm paying now. This is what I'd like to pay, okay? You want to have those two columns. So important to have two columns for yourself in order to know what you're doing, okay? In order to know where your money's going, okay? So when you have the two columns, you want to go down the columns and put down what you want to spend each month. This is what I'd like to spend, okay? And always remember, by the way, that in your current column of what you're spending, you've got a fixed amount, right? You've got, I pay the same amount each and every month for my mortgage, right? I pay the same each and every month for my garbage, right? But my electric bill fluctuates, right? It goes up and down. In the summer, it might go up because I'm using the air conditioner more. In the winter, it may go up because I'm using the heater more. And then there's times that I'm not using either and it kind of goes down, right? So again, you want to kind of adjust yourself on the average of what you're spending on that. So that way you're averaging out because again, sometimes there's more, sometimes there's less, right? So the times that it's more, hopefully when it was less, you're putting that money away. So you have yourself set. Plus, the electric company is very nice. You can actually contact them and put yourself on a fixed rate where they will actually charge you the same amount each and every month. Okay? You can talk to them about that. And that way they just basically set you on you can't use more than this. Okay? So be real careful with it, but go ahead and talk to your electric company about that. But then there are variable or periodic things, right? There's things like your registration. These are called budget busters, okay? There's things like, okay, my registration is due in August and I don't have the money for it and I have to adjust to put $300 out of my budget to go to pay my registration, right? There's things that are that way. But if you put them in your budget every month, like car repairs, things like that, adjust them, okay? So I'm going to show you what I mean. So if my registration is $230 a year and I divide that by 12 months and I put $20 into a periodic savings account, it's a basic savings account, but I titled it the periodic savings account and I put a lot of stuff in there, right? So it's my periodic savings account and I throw $20 in there every single month. When my registration becomes due, which is in my case, it's August, I've got the money. I'll just pull it out of my savings account, pay my registration, I'm all done and I start all over again with my $20. Same thing goes for your auto insurance. Every 6 months you pay it. But if you take the $540 every 6 months and divide it, just throw $90 into a savings account. Now, some of us, we pay our insurance on a monthly basis. Well, guess what? Your insurance company is charging you a fee for that. Okay? So if you can get off anything that's extra money going out the door, do it. Okay? Get yourself planned to where you're going to be doing it yourself and putting that money into a savings account, a periodic savings account in my case, and that's what you should call it too. That way, when it comes due, here you go, and hand it over. Okay? The big holidays, that's what kills a lot of people's budgets. Okay? Plan for it. Okay? Start out in January. Right now we're in June, almost July. You can do it by divided by 6 because we're in July. Figure out how much you want to spend for the holidays, okay? And then divide it by how many months till the holidays and put that into your periodic savings account. And one of the things that I always do for the holidays, by the way, is I buy a gift every single month from January to December. I figure out what I'm buying people, or sometimes someone will say, oh, that's really cute. I like that. And I'll buy it for them. And then they get really surprised when I give it to them, like, you remembered, right? So buy a gift a month if you have to, right? And then put that into your budget, into your spending and savings plan. But figure out what you're going to spend ahead of time. Same thing for birthdays, right? Or other holidays you may celebrate throughout the year. Figure out what you want to spend on it and divide it by how many months it's till, and then put the money away each and every month, because then it's not as big a bite, okay? And it doesn't hurt as much, and you're not living off your credit cards, okay? Now, once you got everything figured out, you subtract the income from the expenses, voila, and there you have it, right? Now you know if you're in the red or if you're in the green. You know if you have run out of money and you don't have enough for everything, or you have enough money for everything, right? Um, so you want to kind of always remember this, okay? Your expenses should never exceed your income. Always remember that. Expenses should never exceed your income. If it is, this is where the fun comes in. You gotta make some adjustments. And that's why I said when you first start, it is time consuming. So what are you gonna do? Okay. Well, what you're going to do is, of course, you're going to increase your income, right? More overtime, get maybe a second job, right? I have a neighbor who walks dogs. He loves dogs and he loves walking. So after he gets off work, he walks some of the neighbors' dogs at $35 a pop. He actually ends up bringing in an extra $3,000 a month by walking dogs. He walks on Saturdays and Sundays too, a few more dogs. So $35 is what he charges each time he walks the dog. And he makes, like I said, $3,000 just by walking dogs, and he enjoys walking too. So you can find your passion. My daughter, she sells her paintings. She takes her paintings and she makes them into stickers, and she sells them online. I would give you a prompt for her, but I can't do that, right? But her still stickers, and she makes about $500 a month selling her little stickers of the paintings that she made. So it's really pretty cool. That she does that. So you can do something like that with one of your passions, okay? The other thing you can do is you can sell things, like having a garage sale, stuff like that, selling your boat, right? But the problem is that once you sold it, it's sold. So it's a quick fix. It's something to give you a boost to get started. Those garage sales, it's a boost to get started, or selling things online of your items that you already have. Yeah, doing that's good, but just remember, once it's sold, you can't resell it, okay? Now, the main thing you can do is, of course, decrease your spending. And in doing that, basically, you want to kind of look at what you can decrease, okay? How many of you, by a raise of hands, go to fast food and get yourself some fast food? At least once a week, if not more. Okay. All right. You guys are not alone, just to let you know. A lot of you are raising your hands, and you're not alone. I'll show you something. If you go get fast food for lunch 5 days a week, that's $50 per week. And that, by the way, is the average person. Okay. That's $217 per month that you are spending on fast food. Okay. And that's taking the $50 times 52 weeks in a year and dividing it by 12. Okay. So it's $217, or $216.67. Okay. You are spending over $2,000, almost $3,000 on fast food every single year. So one of the things that you can do, and you can do this with anything you do, if you get your nails done, if you use the gym, if you buy video games, if you do streaming, whatever, anything that you're doing for the fun, you can do this. Like if I'm gaming and I put money into gaming, and believe me, it's very easy to do this, by the way, when you're playing those games and it's like, okay, I want more coins, and here, I'll pay $5 for those coins, right? Figure out how much you're spending on it on a monthly basis and just cut it down a little bit. You can reduce, okay? So instead of going for 5 times a week for fast food, go twice a week. It's only $20, okay? So you can actually eliminate it a little bit by just reducing a little bit. And I don't know why that went away. Bear with me. So just decreasing it, okay? So that's what you kind of want to do. Think about it that way, all right? The other thing that you can do is those streaming stations, okay? How many of you have cut the cable cord? Raise your hand if you cut the cable cord. All right. I'm proud of all you people for cutting the cable cord. All right. Good job. Okay. Cutting the cable cord is a really good thing, okay? On the most part. But a lot of people, when they cut the cable cord, they get a ton of streaming stations. Half of them they don't even watch, okay? Look at the streaming stations that you have and determine which ones you really, really want. Well, that one's only $5, and that one's only $12, but that one's $32. And people are finding that they end up spending more by cutting the cable cord than if they had cable itself. Okay, so look at your streaming stations. I have one show that I'd like to watch. It comes on, it's 3 months every year. I don't subscribe to that station. I make it one of my goals to save up for those 3 months. And then during those 3 months, I subscribe to that streaming station, watch my show for the 3 months, and then I turn it off again. And that's a good thing with streaming stations is that you don't really have to keep them up if you don't use them. Okay. So only get the streaming stations that you really need or that you want to use. Okay. Watch how much you're spending on those streaming stations. Okay. Also remember to bring grocery lists when you go to the grocery store. That's where a lot of people will mess up. Okay. It's a grocery list. I always say bring a grocery list and how much you want to spend on it. But you got to have some fun. So I always put $5 for things that are like, I want that ice cream or I want those grapes. Okay. So whatever it happens to be, always bring a grocery list to the store. Now, other budget busters are, of course, your debt. I'm going to tell you is, do you think owning a house is a positive debt? Raise your hand. Okay. Good. Okay. Next question for you. If you think that owning a cell phone is a positive debt, raise your hand. Hands going up. Okay. Okay. Owning a cell phone is not a positive debt. Okay. Buying it is good because we all need our phones now, and that's what a lot of us are living off of is our cell phones nowadays, right? But it's not a positive debt. A positive debt is something that gains value, like buying a home. Most houses will gain value over time. Okay. A negative debt is something that becomes less valuable as time goes on, like a smartphone. You buy a $300 smartphone or even a $700 smartphone, it's going to lose value and it's not going to be worth as much. Good to have one, but it's not going to be worth as much. Okay. So there is positive and negative debt. But the main negative debt you really want to avoid is credit card debt. Okay. Credit card debt is the worst negative debt you could possibly have. If you have a good budget in place, I say use your credit cards, but pay it off. Use and pay, right? Do not charge more than you can pay off right away. Because that is probably one of the biggest budget busters there is you start saying, well, you know what? I really like those red shoes, or I like that barbecue set. I think I'm going to buy them. I know it's not on my budget, but I can charge it and pay it off in about 3 or 4 months. Or, whoa, this thing's on sale. I can get this really inexpensive, and then it takes you, 4 months to pay it off. Did you really get a sale, right? Really kind of think about it. So what you want to do is when you go out shopping or on the internet, say to yourself, if it's not something you were going to look for, ask yourself these 3 questions first. Do I need it? Do I need it now? What would happen if I didn't get it? Okay. My mama taught me this, actually. She told me to walk away. If I'm going someplace, if I'm, went to buy something and I see something that, oh, wow, it's so shiny. I had these beautiful red shiny shoes and I really wanted them and I can't forget about them this moment because I love talking about them because I walked away. You see something that's on sale. Oh my gosh, I need it, right? Do I really need it? Do I need it right now? No, I'm really not going anywhere I would be able to wear those red shoes. What would happen if I didn't get it? Nothing would happen, right? I walked away. What you want to do is walk away or turn off your computer at least for 4 hours before you go and buy something that you didn't plan to buy. If you were planning to buy it and you were saving up for it and it was something that you needed, that's different. But if it's something that all of a sudden pops up in your face, definitely walk away from it for a minute, okay? For at least 4 hours. Walk away for 4 hours. In my case, get in your car, drive home if you're someplace. If you end up driving back, you have time to look at your budget and see how you can maybe adjust a little bit in order to get that, because you found out that, you really did need it. Okay. But walk away. So in my closing, before I bring your wonderful representative from wonderful LAPFCU back to talk a little bit more, um, then I do want to let you know this is what you're going to be doing here, okay? I want you to visualize, okay? Visualize your success. If you see it and believe it, you will achieve it, okay? That's why those dream boards always worked out really well, okay? Because they're looking at it. So if there's something that you really want, a goal that you really, really, really want, put something on the refrigerator about it. Really get yourself excited about it, right? Stay organized in getting it, okay? But be realistic that it's not going to happen overnight. Nothing happens overnight. And always remember that when you're doing a budget, you're going to have a setback. You know, don't beat yourself up for it. Just get yourself back on your feet again and start taking those baby steps forward. And always remember, I always tell people, and this is a great response, reward yourself, right? You always, when you're doing a budget something in for you, okay? Budget something in that you want, okay? That's something a want, not a need, but a want, right? Maybe going out to dinner. That's one of the things that I always do is when I do my budget on the last Friday of every single month, I adjust my budget to the way it's supposed to be, if something's changing in my life. I do it the last Friday of every single month. And then after I do it, I make it a fun day. That's the day I get rewarded. I get to go out to dinner. Okay, I get to go to my very favorite restaurant here in California, right? So I go out to dinner, and that's my reward. So you can reward yourself, okay? Make sure you do that too, okay? Give yourself a few rewards. But I am going to now bring Carla back, and I want to thank you guys very much for your time. And Carla, are you there?
I am here. Thank you so much, Colleen. I appreciate that. And I just wanted to let you guys know too that, myself using some of the tips and all of that Colleen talked about, I was also able to purchase a home. So it's definitely doable. But LAPFCU is here to help you guys do that as well. As members, you have access to money management available on the LAPFCU app and in online banking. Here, you're able to track your spending across all of your accounts. So even if it's us here at LAPFCU or at other institutions or credit unions as well. If you are in need of retirement or investment planning, you can get a free consultation from Patrick Infante. He is our in-branch CUSO Financial Services financial advisor. Patrick can help you with retirement planning, saving, investing, college saving accounts, and planning for other goals as well. You can create a free balance account to access tons of financial education resources like webinars, podcasts, and videos. You can also speak with our certified financial coach for some free advice, and also for you to create a budget, lower debt, increase your savings, and more. The LAPFCU team is also ready to help you guys with your financial needs, and call us at 877-695-2732. And also, if you wanted to schedule an appointment with myself, we do have our virtuals. And you can actually go ahead and go into lapfcu.org and click on contact, and you can go ahead and click on virtual appointments, and you can actually speak to myself or any of our other representatives that are available as well. But thank you so much for connecting with us tonight. We really do appreciate you, and we're here to help you to create your financial goals as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm going to go ahead and turn my camera back on. And if you guys have any questions, and Carla, if you'd like to turn yours back on as well, if you guys have any questions, we'd be more than happy to answer those questions. And just put them into the question box. And we do have one question here. Can you suggest a good budgeting app? I haven't been able to find one. We here at Balance do not like to recommend certain budgeting apps. I personally use QuickBooks, but there's a lot of really good apps out there. Good Budget, Rocket Money, lots of really nice ones. So there are some really good ones out there. Your phone device that you have, if you have Google or if you happen to have Apple, they do their due diligence or try to make sure that the apps that you're using are safe. So you can go into your app store and take a look and see what they have. That's the best suggestion I can give to you at this time. I'm sorry I can't give you any more, but it's there are some really good ones out there. Anybody else have any other questions? Okay. What is a good amount for an emergency fund? Okay, JP, thank you for asking that question. That's a good question. Um, so a good amount for an emergency savings fund depends on what you make. Okay. So what you want to kind of look at is, or what you spend rather, you want to look at your needs. So when you have your good budget in place, remember I showed you the discretionary and the essential living expenses. You want to look at your essential living expenses. And when you're looking at what the total of those essential living expenses are, you want to have 3 to 6 months worth of savings for that. So if your essential living expenses that you spend each and every month come to, let's say, $2,000, then you want to have at least $6,000, okay, or 12,000 into emergency savings. But you want to start to the 3 month first. You want to get to the 3 months first, okay? So it's whatever the essential living is, not your discretionary. I hope that helps you. Sorry, my throat got dry there. A copy of the budget sheet with the columns. Actually, yes, there should be a little thing that looks like a little piece of paper that gives you a handout. All you need to do is to click that and download that. If you can't find it, we will be more than happy to, LAPFCU, when you get a copy of the presentation, I'll have them send that along as well. When it is time to consolidate debt and get a personal loan? There, a great question. Thank you so much for that. So when is it good to consolidate? It's good to consolidate. Go to LAPFCU. They've got great consolidation loans, okay? So when you have debt, what you want to do is you want to look at your interest rates, okay? You want to look at all your interest rates. So let's just say, just as an example, let's just say that you happen to have 5% on one of them, and maybe 29% on another one, and maybe only 14% on the third one, okay? You want to take the total of the interest that you are paying and divide it by how many debts you have, how many credit cards per se that you have. So in this case, it would be divided by 3, right? So you would take that 48 and you would divide that by 3, and that comes to 16. So when you go and look for a consolidation loan, you want that loan to be 16% of interest or lower, okay? So 16% or lower is what you want it to be. And then, yes, then it's time to consolidate, okay? If your interest rates are sitting at 4% on average, and that's what you're at, it doesn't really make sense to consolidate because you're only paying more overall, okay? So you want to look at the interest rates, see where your interest rates are at, and then go look to consolidate. Now, the other thing you want to also realize is that when you do consolidate, you want to look at how much debt you have. If you only have $2,000 in debt, you can hopefully get that paid off pretty quick. But if you find yourself having, $10 to $20 to $30,000 in debt, it might make more sense. The time will be stretched out over a time frame, but if you pay a little extra towards it, it'll be better, and you'll end up paying less because you want to pay less each month than more each month. That makes sense. Hope that helped. Okay. What is the best way to tackle a large amount of credit card debt, say around $20,000 in debt? Consolidate a good option. Okay, I gave you that consolidation thing, but let me tell you what you need to do, okay? If you have a large amount of debt, the best thing to do is, if you have more than one credit card and you've got a whole bunch of money in every different places, okay, you want to look at which debt has the highest interest rate. Not the highest debt, the highest interest rate, okay? and you want to pay that first. So you want to pay extra money towards it. I always tell you to kind of, put an extra $50 towards it or $100 towards it if you can, okay? Figure out your budget and how much more you can pay. But always pay on your debt, whatever they're asking you for, plus whatever the interest amount is. Even though the interest amount isn't that payment amount, you still want to add it again because that's going to pay it off faster, okay? Always pay that little bit of extra. That's the minimum, but always try to pay more, okay? I always say, if you can get an extra $100, okay? So let's just say you're paying $230 because you're paying an extra $150 towards one of the debts, the highest interest debt. That gets paid off. Congratulations. Now, when you go to the next one, you take that $230 and you put it towards the next debt along with what they're asking you for, okay, the monthly payment, because then you can pay that off faster. And you're going to find it's basically called a snowball effect, okay? You start out with a little snowball, right? And then you roll it down the hill, and what happens? It gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, right? And you're finding yourself getting out of debt because you're getting all the extra money is going towards the next one. And then by the bottom of the hill, all the debt's gone, okay? So you want to kind of start with the highest interest rate one, pay extra towards it, and move on. Hopefully that helps. Okay, next question. Question is, should I pay off credit card debt before taking on larger student loans? That depends, okay? The credit card debt is bad debt. The student loan is good debt, okay? Good debt is because when you're going to school, when you're going to college or higher education, you're giving yourself a chance of making more money, okay? Because someone with a college education usually makes more money, or with a higher education, usually makes more money than someone who does not. So I'm not going to stop you from taking on that student loan debt, depending on what you're doing it for, okay? If you can get a scholarship or a grant, try those first, okay? Try to attempt to get yourself that extra money that direction first. And then, yes, always kind of think about your student loan is important because that's your future, okay? Credit card debt is not. So start paying off your credit card debt while you're going to college if you can, and take on that. I'm not going to say take on this large student loan debt. It depends what you're going to be doing it for, and if you can't get money any other way. Okay. Next question. I have a 401k from 3 different jobs. Wow. 2 previous and 1 current. Is it better to try and have them all together or leave them separate? This is a good time for you to talk to LAPFCU's financial advisor, and that would be Patrick. His number's right there still on the screen, 818-464-2071. Give him a call, okay? I know what my answer is, but I'm not a licensed financial advisor, so I really can't give you the direct answer to that, but Mr. Patrick Infante can. 818-464-2071. Please give him a call, and he will get you all on the right track for that one. But thank you for asking that question. All right, do we have any more questions here?
And Colleen, also I did want to mention to everyone that before we finalize this webinar, we are going to have another webinar July 24th for understanding credit webinar. And it's also going to be at 6 p.m., 6 to 7. And this is going to be a great webinar to understand credit and debt, and maybe debt consolidation as well for many of you that have some questions on that.
Yes, definitely. And I'm going to do this last question, and then we are going to close for the day. And I wanted to thank you, but I'm going to ask this last question here because I wanted to answer for you. How do I check if any bills went to collection? Am I able to look it up through my credit score? Yes, go to your credit report and look at it. We are going to talk about that and understanding credit, so please come back for that. You really want to take care of those. So good segue into understanding credit because I'm going to be able to guide you on how to actually look at those things, okay? You can definitely see them on your credit report. Okay. So I do want to thank you as well for coming and attending. And I hope you guys all learned at least one thing um, and enjoyed. And I hope you're able to download everything. And I would like to thank you very much for attending. And Carla, I'll give it back to you for the close.
Thank you so much, Colleen. We appreciate all your tips. And we are going to be sending over a copy of this webinar. So if you wanted to send it over to a family member, anybody that would benefit from it, please do. But we appreciate you guys being here and have an amazing evening.